Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our second episode of Reach Every Worker. We're so excited to have you with us today. We're going to dive into a great conversation around metrics and measuring internal communications. A few things to know that we will be providing resources following the conversation via email. Also, be sure that you sign up for our additional episodes as well. We have a third episode that's coming up, and we encourage you to go ahead and sign up to have a chance at winning some headphones. So please encourage you to go to our website right now and go ahead and register. We have a lot of great webinars coming up. Encourage you to join just as you have today. So excited. Today, I am welcomed by Ethan McCarty from Integral. He's the CEO there. He's founded Integral 6 years ago, helping various agencies with their communications. He comes with a wealth of knowledge, having been an in-house communicator places like IBM and Bloomberg, if those names ring a bell. He also teaches at Columbia University, a master's level course in the area of employee activation and experience. So it's so exciting to have an expert with us today to talk about the science behind measuring internal communications. Now, before we jump into talking about how you can do all of that, let's talk about what are the challenges that we are facing right now and why is this conversation so important? Well, first, metrics and measurement are really at the heart of understanding the effectiveness of communications. Now, while we know that internal communications play a vital role in shaping our companies, we communicators often struggle to quantify and demonstrate the true value of our work. How many times have you heard a communicator say, "I speak Word, not Excel," highlighting the problems they face with knowing their way around numbers? I've said that a number of times. I'm guessing you all have said that as well. But let's all promise to retire that saying today. So today we'll talk about how you can measure your communications in a way that proves the value of your work to the business. But before that, let's talk a little bit more as far as how you can really have a data-driven strategy as it relates to your communications. So first, let's be clear. Communicators often will go by gut intuition, will go by impression when it comes to our communications, but ultimately we should be just making decisions based upon the data that we have available to ourselves. It's important for us to find ways to track our communications to ensure that the decisions that we are making are informed beyond just the impressions that some of us might be making those decisions according to. Something also that's worth noting is, while some communicators might have traditional metrics like open rates and engagement rates and response rates right now, these are limited because they are oftentimes are providing just a glimpse into the activity, and they don't go beyond to help those communicators understand how ultimately their messages are influencing behavior and fostering alignment among their organizations. And that brings us to the next point, which is if we're unable to really demonstrate how we are driving the behavior of the audiences we are reaching, that also is an issue because our communications are limited in the way we're able to demonstrate the value to leadership, where they're often looking for ultimately how are we driving their business goals. And as a result of that, leadership often will look at us from a skeptical point of view. And as a result of that, without an understanding of how we are ultimately driving value, they might underinvest in our work and deprioritize our work as well. So what should we do to avoid that? We must find ways and learn skills that we're able to demonstrate how our work is ultimately driving the bottom line, and to do that from a metrics standpoint. And whether it's demonstrating how we're increasing productivity, improving employee retention, or driving cultural change, this is ultimately what we have to get to, this place of really demonstrating how we are driving positive business outcomes. And last thing that's worth noting is considering the new ways of working, there are new challenges as well, and how we're able to track employee experience and engagement. And with that, we have to be mindful now that there are more remote and hybrid work environments. What are the ways that we can track those engagements in an effective way to show the ultimate value of our work? So there's a lot for us to cover today, and I'm so excited to have Ethan with us. but we also want to bring you into the conversation as well. And we have set forth just a quick poll. We'd love for you all to respond to. How effective are your current measurements, tools, and methods of communications right now? Let's take a quick moment. Go ahead and answer this question. Also welcome you to drop something in the chat if you're willing to elaborate on your response as well. Okay, so let's see what we have here. So nobody responded that our communication metrics rock. It sounds like most people are saying you're doing okay, but things could be improved. And then below that, sounds like there's a lot of room for improvement. And then lastly, it sounds like simply some organizations aren't measuring their communications right now. Well, I want to say, one, I don't think this is a huge surprise. I think communicators generally, as I said, see that there's an opportunity for us to make improvements. And that's the whole reason why we are having this conversation today. So I would love to bring up to the stage, so to speak, Ethan McCarty. He's going to provide us with some ways and a framework specifically that internal communicators can apply to their communications to demonstrate how they are impacting the business and how they're really measuring and demonstrating the value of their communications. Ethan.
Thanks so much, Ray. I appreciate that. And I also appreciate that we were able to get on the same page with our outfits today. That's, I think, really bringing a lot of value. So that's one KPI that we hit right off the bat. Look, measurement is always tricky, right? Like we're always, like there's always a, it doesn't matter what kind of area of the business that you're in. Measurement is always tricky. There's always going to be some nuance and complexity. And, even the folks who are in sales or marketing who have like, quote unquote, like, better KPIs or technologies or whatever, they still struggle with all kinds of things like, attribution and, whether the revenue that is earned is actually, profitable or, or is it cannibalizing some other part of the business as you're trying to do that, expansion. So take heart, fellow communicators, that this is not a problem that's unique or a challenge that's unique to the communications practice. There is, however, some unique challenges that we have as communications folks by comparison to other areas of the business where, the sort of observable phenomenon in the universe are more visibly attached to the activities that part of the company is doing. So like sales generates revenue and, an operations capability in an organization like supply chain might be able to point at things like, efficiency and, or even safety or what have you if you're in manufacturing. And those things are much more observable. So many things that we do in communications are not, readily visible, to your eye or even, does not throw off the data that you would be able to capture easily. So one of the things I wanted to just start off with is sharing an overall framework, and we have versions of this that have a lot more detail, but an overall framework to help guide your effort out of the gate. One of the things that we find again and again is that measurement is considered an activity that happens at the end of some process, a campaign or what have you. And to me, that's kind of like driving, trying to drive your car by only looking in the rearview mirror. And, that is just a recipe for disaster, obviously. So if we can, along every stage in trying to, as we create a great employee experience or a campaign or a set of communications, have an understanding of how that fits together and how that is all informed by some set of measures, we're going to have a distinct advantage. And so, this is something that's been advocated, I think, for years. There's some work that was done by the CEC like more than a decade ago around integrating your KPIs and planning for employee communications at the front end of your, sort of strategic process. So at Integral, we think of employee experience as comprising these things. So you'd have some kind of strategy. Ideally, it all ladders up to a business strategy for the whole company, but you might have like a strategy that's, very specific to an outcome. Like we would like to recruit more of this kind of skill, or we would like to reduce accidents, in a particular part of our manufacturing process, or we'd like to improve speed to productivity for for new managers. So you'd have some kind of strategic intent before you go off and start building out content and so on that would comprise the employee experience. But then there's with the development of content, there's usually some kind of KPIs that are that could be identified around that, and you might want to start to unpack those. Like, is it the total volume of consumption or impressions? If you're in the advertising business, that's kind of the holy grail is did we get people to look at that? And if you're in the marketing, if you're looking at the marketing funnel, it might be some more downstream, metric like conversions or loyalty or what have you. But the content can have some real KPIs built against it. That is, by the way, where we as communicators tend to have just a lot more, comfort and familiarity and strength, because many of us, myself included,